A radio show host in Seattle called Paul Gallant.
You are definitely living in the hindsight world today, Paul.
Do you feel there's been a consistent theme with the interceptions?
I think every interception really has a different story.
I was just kind of curious what Paul gets to say.
I got f***ing grow, mother. Are you kidding me?
Paul Gallant, what the hell is wrong with you?
Have a hell of a time too doing it.
Are you afraid about peaking at this point? I mean, you think of Dan Marino, the second year, 48 touchdown passes, breaks all his records, goes to the Super Bowl, and then he never returns. Has that ever crossed your mind that, boy, I might never be back here again?
It's never crossed my mind. I don't think that ever will cross my mind. I had an equipment manager in college. I mean, he had been at Michigan for 25 years or so. He's got so many Big Ten rings. I mean, he doesn't have enough fingers for all the rings he's got. And he says, you know what? Whenever he says, you know what, Tom, you know what my favorite ring is? And I said, which one's that? He goes, the next one. That's what I think, the next one. That's my favorite.
How about now? There we go. Sorry about that. I had no idea the thing wasn't even working. Fuck. Hello. And welcome aboard another episode of the Gallant Says Podcast. Available wherever you get your podcasts. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud, also live on Twitch, youtube.com/Pawl Gallant. Largobot says we are good at reading lips. I started off the show with a nice little spiel asking if you are drinking through the hangover. Yeah, I am drinking through the hangover. I have a Shiner Ruby Redbird. We do not kink shame here. We do not drink shame here. On this November 8th of 2022, I think it would be appropriate for me to tell you where the fuck I've been for the last... How many days has it been? It's Tuesday. Yesterday was Monday. Before that was Sunday. So since Saturday night, get to the ballpark at Minute Maid about 5:15 on Saturday. Go to the El Tiempo up by the Hornitos bar. Saw a couple of my people I've been hanging out with over the course of this series. Got myself an El Tiempo frozen margarita in the express lane. Had a second frozen El Tiempo margarita afterwards. Had a beer. Watched up to like the 5th inning or so. 6th inning, when everything started to get a little bit gritty, I was sitting in my press area. All of a sudden, Kyle Schwarber hits that home run. I'm thinking to myself, oh, fuck. But then Yordan goes yard, 35 yards to my right. A guy in a Yordan Alvarez jersey caught it. Right when that happened, I knew that the Astros had won the World Series. I had complete faith in the bullpen. Packed up my bags, moved downstairs, got into a line to go onto the field after the game, which I did. Got to see the Astros celebrating with the trophy firsthand. The confetti goes up. After that was done, I went to the clubhouse. I'm not going to lie. I had fun in the clubhouse, got shot in the eye with a couple of bottles of champagne, but it feels intrusive being in the clubhouse, especially when you have a microphone in your hand. I felt this way because I was trying very hard to get an interview with my guy, World Series MVP, Jeremy Pena, and he did not want an interview with anybody. Maybe it was just me, but I could not even get to within arm's reach of him because whenever he did an interview, he would try to run around the corner. It felt weird being in there. So I left the clubhouse a little bit earlier than everybody else did. But cut up my videos, went on the field, did a little talk about how the Astros won. I actually started tearing up towards the end of that video. I was very emotional after they won that thing. Then after that was done, I went to my car. I got out the $30 cigar that I bought at Stogie's over on Westheimer, which is close to where I live. Lit that puppy up with my little butane lighter. Got myself a street Modelo. Walked down the street with said Modelo all the way from the Minute Maid parking lot C to Etro. It was fucking crazy out there. You had the streets completely packed. I don't know how many people have pickup trucks and giant Houston Astros flags, and if they were already ready to go, going from that game, but they were everywhere. Cops were looking the other way. They did not care about open containers. Cops were looking the other way at the parade, I guess, as well. And there were fireworks going off in the middle of Main Street. Fireworks. It was a great celebration. There were tons of people out there. It's awesome that they finally won the thing here as opposed to, the last time around where they won in Los Angeles. So, I mean, it was just packed. It's probably the coolest that I've ever seen downtown Houston and maybe the most enjoyable mile and 2/10 walk that I've ever had in my life. It really was an awesome stroll through downtown Houston. Sunday, I wake up. I'm like, am I going to watch football? Nah, fuck that. Got out into some cocky Sunday Pawl of regalia. After that, go to, I think I went to Bungalow for a bit. Then from there, I went to Fusion Taco. Very fantastic place to get margaritas and tacos. After that, I went to Down the Street Bar, which was a little bit less lively than I would have liked. And then yesterday, go down to Cobos Q, did the show, drink a bottle of champagne during the show. After the show, had some Coors Light. Cobos Q got packed after the parade was done. After the parade was done, I hung out with Cobos Q folks for a little bit. Then from there, I walked to a corner. We got an Uber. We went to Shot Bar. I haven't been to Shot Bar since like 2014. 15, which is when we used to run that place. Now, all of a sudden, I'm in there. It's light out. It felt weird. After that, I went to Dogwood. I went to a sushi place afterwards. Next thing I know, I'm waking up on my couch, drooling into a pillow at 10:45 p.m. Got up from that, go from there to my bed, think to myself, all right, I'm going to take another 2-hour nap. I'm going to wake up, do some show prep. I've just completely passed out, woke up at 2:30 again, thinking to myself, nah, I ain't doing anything. Woke up this morning, scrabbled together as much audio as I could from today, and boom, here I am. So yeah, let's take a look at the Twitch comments, twitch.tv/Gallant says. I appreciate everyone letting me know that there was no audio. That would have been extremely annoying if I just kept going and going and going and going. Largobot, keep telling us about the weird gay orgy on Fairview that you stumbled upon. Joe Regon 12 said, Paul, I just found out you're back in Houston. Loved your show since 2017. Bring back Hot Take Harry. We will at some point. E315 says, hey, don't take shots at the Killer Bees. We like the Killer Bees. Largobot says Etro downtown is not the same as Montrose Etro. It's not the same as Numbers either, which is the really weird fucking place. E315 says Paulie living paycheck to paycheck, drinking like that. No, we're taking a break. At least until Saturday. And then I'm going to the Renaissance Festival. And I've already got like just a ridiculous set of shit ready to go. You know what? I'm going to be right back. We're going to see if we can do radio like this. Hang on. Can you guys hear anything? Can you hear anything at all? Should I lift up the mask? I'm going to the Renaissance Festival on Saturday, and I thought I would go big time. So I got myself this like medieval helmet. It cost like $50. He says, E315 asks, do I have a harem of ladies that are going to be there dressed up? I don't know. We'll see. I guess I'm going to be meeting some of the Renaissance Festival folks. You guys can hear. Okay. How about now? If I do it like this, I feel like I look like some sort of gimp or the guy from, oh shit. What is that movie? Oh, fuck, I forget. Yeah, this is definitely a Numbers vibe. Okay, this is too much. I don't know how I'm going to wear this all day on Saturday. Hopefully I'll be proper intoxicated by the time that thing starts. Anyway, all right. What do we got? Oh, yeah. So, you know, we're doing some of the same things that we did on the radio show today, and I apologize. I wish I had done something on Saturday night. The night just got away from me. It was 4 a.m. by the time I got home. And then on Sunday, I'll be honest, I was just lazy. Yesterday, too, I thought I would be back at my apartment by 3 o'clock, and that clearly did not happen either. My big problem is not that I'm like an alcoholic, said the probable alcoholic. My big issue is that when I start, I have a hard time stopping. I don't need to drink, but I figured today, may as well. Why not? I want you guys to adopt this mentality going forward because, look, the Astros winning one World Series, that's cool. But now they've won 2. And now that you have the proverbial monkey off of your back as far as establishing legitimacy of what the Astros have done, I want you guys to, again, and I know you guys did a little bit earlier, if you were watching on Twitch and you just saw this random out of context Tom Brady clip, I want you guys to see this again. This is your mentality. Flimsy Cherry and E315 agree with me in terms of the way that we drink. Yeah, you just start and oh no, it's been 6. Oh well. I guess I'm in denial that I have denial that I have graduated college. I'm also in denial about my grasp of the English language. Infuentes Respecter says, when I used to drink, I could only drink 10 plus drinks. I could never just have a 6-pack. Damn, I guess this is like a little therapy session for all of us in the Twitch chat here. Twitch.tv/Gallant says if you want to interact with the show live. Here is Tom Brady after winning his first Super Bowl in 2002 in an interview with Steve Sable.
Are you afraid about peaking at this point? I mean, you think of Dan Marino, the second year, 48 touchdown passes, breaks all his records, goes to the Super Bowl, and then he never returns. Has that ever crossed your mind that, boy, I might never be back here again?
It's never crossed my mind. I don't think that ever will cross my mind. I had an equipment manager in college. I mean, he had been at Michigan for 25 years or so. He's got so many Big Ten rings. I mean, he doesn't have enough fingers for all the rings he's got. And he says, you know what? Whenever he says, you know what, Tom, you know what my favorite ring is? And I said, which one's that? He goes, the next one. That's what I think, the next one. That's my favorite.
That clip is my favorite. That is my favorite Tom Brady quote. And we should all adopt that going forward. What's your favorite ring? The next one. And we should get on to focusing on the next one. 2023. And the Astros already seem to have moved ahead. Dusty Baker's going to be back. That makes sense. I think Dusty did a really good job these World Series. I think there were fair reasons to criticize him over the course of the regular season, but I thought he did a damn good job in these playoffs. James Click, the Astros general manager, I don't know about that one. Don't have a problem with it, but I do feel like the Astros didn't get as much as they needed at the trade deadline, and I know that we learned about how James Click nixed a trade for Dusty Baker got in the way of a trade that James Click had made Jose Urquidy for Wilson Contreras, the catcher at the deadline. Okay, maybe that makes you think a little bit more of Click. I got to say, ballsy of Dusty considering the lack of production that they were getting behind the plate. They do get Christian Vasquez in instead. Urquidy for Contreras is not that expensive, though I suppose you're giving up a pitcher that you have team control of for a couple of years. But anyway, he blocks it. Click on Saturday was being asked about like the depth of the team, and he randomly brought up like Mauricio Dubon by name. I guess that's the guy that he brought in, Justin Verlander's personal center fielder. Whatever the case, when it comes down to what they were able to do at the deadline, like that's not why they won the World Series. They won the World Series because they had a really good roster in place, and everyone was just healthy enough for the World Series itself until, honestly, things started to hit the fan. They had to win Game 6. They didn't win Game 6. That would have been bad. Bregman busted a finger. He said it's going to take 4 weeks to recover. You saw Yuli Gurriel bust his knee. I guess Martin Maldonado was playing with a hand injury and a sports hernia. So, yeah, those guys were beat the fuck up. And James Click probably could have gotten some more depth at the trade deadline. He didn't. I'm not going to hold that against Click. I'm just kind of surprised that he's back. Next up on the docket, it's, okay, are they going to be able to bring back Justin Verlander? Verlander will probably opt out. They're probably going to have to offer him some sort of contract along the range of what Max Scherzer got, which is 3 years, $140 million. Personally, if I'm in James Click's shoes, I'm totally fine letting Verlander walk because of the depth of pitching that the Astros have. They should feel pretty good about the idea that they don't need to pay Justin Verlander a ton. And think about where they're at. I think the payroll's at $166 million. The luxury tax threshold is something like $230, $240. So let's say they got about $60 to $70 million or so to play with if they don't want to cross over the luxury tax threshold. There's some free agents that they got to figure out. Michael Brantley, can they bring him back at a discount? Yuli Gurriel, can they bring him back at a discount? You've also got Martin Maldonado, Christian Vasquez, Trey Mancini, other names to consider. At least from a pitching perspective, things are good. I'm totally fine letting Rafael Montero walk. He is a free agent, but are you going to have enough money to, one, bring back Verlander, where if you sign him to what he's looking for, he's probably going to be taking up 2/3 of that free space that you have at this point in time? Because that will, one, prevent you from potentially giving extensions to Kyle Tucker. Maybe you're thinking about Altuve, Bregman, with 2 years left on their deals. But it's also going to keep you from potentially getting an outfielder. I think Andrew Benintendi would be a great guy to go after this offseason. A guy who can hit, a guy who can field, a lot more respectable of a bat, kind of a Michael Brantley sort of acquisition. Some people have been suggesting today Anthony Rizzo, the first baseman, that the Astros should go after him. That was a guy who did suck for a lot of this past season, if I'm not mistaken, until he joined the Yankees. I could be wrong on that. I might be thinking of somebody else. I am curious. I'm already on to 2023. And Fuentes Respecter says, I'm not sure which World Series feels better. I think this one feels better. You proved everyone wrong. It has to be this one. 2017 was great. It's the first time you did it. I think there was a lot of emotions with Hurricane Harvey, but this one feels, I think, as sweet. It legitimizes what happened. There are so many people that were saying 2017 didn't matter. It drove me fucking crazy. I had some person on Facebook that was calling me out today like, hey, Paul, So you're from Florida, but you're a Patriots fan, blah, 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 blah. Like shaming me. And I was like, well, yeah, I jumped on the bandwagon of the best team in town. I jumped on the bandwagon of the Astros. I like them. It's pretty easy. I don't see a problem with jumping on it. This is an incredible stretch run for the Astros. And I mean, yeah, when I was in Seattle, things changed for a little bit. I was getting paid by the Mariners. I was nice to the Mariners. I like the Mariners. I still like the Mariners on the side. We'll see how that goes as time progresses, given that the Mariners are going to be the Astros' biggest, I think, competitor in the American League West for quite some time. What other comments do we have? Twitch.tv/Gallant says. You can also join on YouTube, youtube.com/Pawl Gallant. Is the People's Champ still the People's Champ? There's a new Astros song out. It's called How About Them Stros by Pawl featuring Sam Knight. I'm just going to play this whole thing, and you guys can determine whether or not you like it. Again, the People's Champ, Pawl, and How About Them Stros. Produced by Bruce Bang.
Sam Knight, Wild Wild Baby. Say, man, how about them Stros, baby?
They say if you ain't got no haters, then you ain't got nothing poppin'. But it won't face this fella's never been an option. The hate to see us make it clutch, city never stopping. Whoa, how about them Stros? 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 How
about them Stros, guys? All right, let's talk about the chorus. I don't think people like the chorus. It's a little low energy. Someone suggested on Twitch when I was doing the show, twitch.tv/ESPN97.5, that it sounded country. Sam Knight's lyrics. They say, if you ain't got no haters, then you ain't got nothing popping. But it won't phase us because it's never been an option. They hate to see us make it. Clutch City never stopping. Whoa, how about them Stros? How about them Stros? How about them Stros? How about them Stros? King of all Twitch says he's on a Zoom and he can't hear. Well, I mean, how about them Stros? Let's get to the Pawl lyrics because hopefully that will pick this thing up a little bit.
I'm about to stroke.
I remember way back before they tried to disrespect Mattress Mac. They hated on us hard, should've never done that. But we showed up and showed out, then showed love back. So how you love that? Had to win this one at home. Javi in the squad, no hit 'em in the zone. Alex Bregman showed them that we still Houston strong. Stepped it up for Dusty Baker, won it all, now it's on. My lucky socks on, they going in the frame next to number 2 and 27 in the Hall of Fame. Shout out to the bullpen, them boys did they thing. Clutch City back, baby, hold up, man. How about them Stros?
There we go, Sam Knight again. Lindsey Cherry says, song sucks, to be honest.
How about them Stros?
Joe Riggin on 12. This song is ass. Come on, we're not done yet. We still got like halfway to go. Come on, you guys like it. A lot of people are moving both to Twitch and YouTube right now.
I'm about to stroke.
New rings on deck. World Series grills, yeah, we got another set. Johnny Dang made iced out, extra wet. All it took was faith, hard work, and extra sweat. We earned our respect, cause we got it out the mud. Presley came through in the clutch and got the dub. Tucker and Payne, you brought home the gold glove. It's Astros for life, I got orange in my blood. I gotta show love to Jordan and Yuli. I'm in my slab watching highlights like it's a movie. And everything groovy, now that they don't win, you won it. Now we about to run it back, I swear the mother boys don't want it. How about them Stros? 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 How about them Stros?
about them Stros? Hey, how about them? How about them Stros, guys? You know, great song. So I want to thank the People's Champ for that. I wonder if some people think he's still the People's Champ anymore. I guess there was another song, World Series Grills per Joe Rogan 12. I don't know if I'm saying your name right. Is it Jorgen? Whatever. Anyway, there you go, guys. The Indianapolis Colts have a new head coach. They hired Jeff Saturday. Let's go back to press conference land. This was the first question of the press conference where Jeff Saturday, who was not even on the Colts coaching staff, was introduced by Jim Irsay, a rather infamous owner in the NFL circles. This is pretty awesome.
But no coaching in college, no coaching in the NFL. How did you get to this point where you offered him the job? And did you offer the interim role to anybody else?
You know, it's an intuitive decision. You know, when I hired Tony Dungy, it was done very methodical. You know, you operate like the CIA. It's very analytical. It's very unemotional. It's very, very methodical with in-depth experience and knowledge and trying to get the feeling for what's right. Then I wanted a winning coach, a winning playoff coach, a winning coach that was proven to come in with our franchise.
So those are all qualifications that you'd want out of a coach, right? Jim Irsay continued.
Now, I'm glad he doesn't have any NFL experience. I'm glad he hasn't learned the fear that's in this league.
What the fuck are you talking about? I'm glad he has no experience. Look, it's one thing to bring in an interim head coach and say, fuck it, let's see what happens, which is what the Colts are doing. Honestly, if there is a way to introduce a coach that's got zero experience, this is, I think, the way to go about it. Maybe the Texans should have taken a page or two out of it last year when they fired David Culley. How about, I don't know, firing him a little bit earlier? If you like Josh McCown, give him a chance as the interim guy at that moment in time. Wasn't he an assistant coach on the staff? This is how you do it. Now, maybe you want to have a guy in Saturday who actually was on the coaching staff as opposed to coaching some random small high school. But all-time spin zone to say that I'm glad about this. You're not glad about this. You would like to have Frank Reich still as your head coach. You wish Matt Ryan would have worked out a little bit better. Irsay's got his hands all over this team. He's a bit messy in life. He's a bit messy here. Don't spin zone it. Come on. You're better than that. We don't know how this is going to play out, but since he's an interim head coach and he's taking over a staff that's worked for Frank Reich, the odds of that staff falling in line with Saturday, I suppose they got nothing to lose. I suppose they have to show their best. Otherwise, they might end up getting fired at the end of the year. Here's Jim Irsay some more.
That's because it's tough for all our coaches. They're afraid. They go to analytics, and it gets difficult. I mean, he doesn't have all that. He doesn't have that fear. And
that fear, interesting line. I think I know where he's going with there. Maybe it's more a tendency to be conservative is what he's saying on that front. That he can just go out there and say, fuck it. He's not part of traditional NFL coaching staffs. Maybe it does work out from that perspective. Like I don't hate the idea of this direction by the Colts. I just think that the way that Jim Irsay does everything always comes off a little bit comedic.
And there was no other candidate. We were fortunate that he was available. And he has tons of experience. He knows this game inside and out, with relationships with coaches and players. And has been a consultant for us for several years, a paid consultant. Informing Chris and I and other people in the organization, his opinions. So to me, I know people can, look out and see it and ask that question, but that doesn't surprise me. I understand. I don't know how to make sausage. I don't know what goes into sausage, but I do know how to build a football team.
Does he know how to build a football team? Or does he know how to have Peyton Manning and then Andrew Luck as the quarterbacks of said football team? Here is more Jim Irsay, and this quote is just, this one's a doozy. Now let's go back to the picture-in-picture again.
We're the fourth winningest franchise in the league since 2000. All right, that means in the upper quartile of winners, we're in the top quartile of that upper quartile. That's rare. We're the fourth winningest franchise in the league since 2000. All right, that means in the upper quartile of winners, we're in the top quartile of that upper quartile.
In the top quartile of winners, we're in the top quartile of that upper quartile. It's Jim Irsay, everybody. Jim Irsay. What else do we have to dive into on today's show? It's kind of a mess. I did my monologue essentially twice in a row. Hopefully the second time around it sounded better than it did the first, because if you tuned into the Twitch early, you probably noticed that I was just talking to nobody with no audio for the first, I don't know, like 20 minutes or so. Anyway, for those who don't know, I am a single person. I am in the dating apps right now. I thought things were going somewhere with somebody a couple of weeks ago. I guess not. So talking to some people. They're all great. No real serious plans at this point in time. I re-downloaded the apps last Sunday because the Texans were playing like such dog shit. I got bored and thought, okay, well, being single ain't exactly working out the way I would like it to. So Friday I went on a date, and I actually had like an honest, good series of conversations with the person that I hung out with. So we'll see what happens going forward. I like that we could talk about politics, and while we disagreed on certain things, like it was a nuanced discussion and we were going back and forth. And I wasn't saying like, hey, things need to be this way, that way, or anything like that. My general policy is this is how I believe, and I'm not going to tell you how to believe. You can believe the same way I do. I hope I raised some good points that at the very least make you think long and hard. We actually had a conversation because I said like, well, I probably lean a little bit right of moderate. And she's like, oh, well, what does that mean? And then gave me a question right away. She says, well, what's your stance on abortion? And, oh, wow, Paul, getting nuanced here in the middle of the Gallant Says podcast. And the take I had is that I don't think the government should have control over what someone does to their body. Shouldn't be telling us to get vaccines. You can if you want, if your doctor says you should. And probably shouldn't be telling you how to go about things that way. That's just government shouldn't be allowed to tell me what to do or what not to do. That said, my whole take on it, having been raised Catholic, but also as somebody who realizes that life is so improbable in this big universe of ours, that if a sperm meets an egg, there's like a 1 in whatever chance of that happening. And then there's a 1 in whatever chance of those two cells turning into a human being. And who knows what happens, but wouldn't you rather exist than not exist if you're those two cells in that spot and all of a sudden something crazy happens, maybe accidentally because people weren't taking proper precautions. Wrap it up, birth control, etc., which not everyone is, as up to speed on, as learned on. There is a part of me that thinks, okay, well, if it happens and you didn't take the necessary precautions before, it's on you. And then that should be on you going forward. Now, that's just how I feel. I'm not telling you how to feel. If you take issue with that, explain why. And I'm someone that can listen to that and talk it through with you. I'm not going to get pissed off at you. But I wanted to share with you a conversation I had with somebody else that I matched with on Twitch. This person on her profile, it said, I am extremely into super liberal people. So we had a nice conversation before that, and I just sent her a message, and I'll show you the exchange. Thoughts on right-leaning moderates. So I wrote that. Not sure what that means these days, because at this point, if you still consider yourself right-leaning for economical reasons, you're just too big of a puss to admit you don't care about other people and only care about your money. Hand to God. I only care about myself and my family. Fuck everyone else. No offense. Like, I like you, but I don't want to have to pay for you. And yeah, I guess that is my money. I don't have a lot of it. So that's sort of my policy with it. I'm very, very spoiled. I was spoiled growing up. Anyway, I responded to that saying, or you lived in a city that leans extremely left to the point that they're slowly strangling the city to death, all the while being aggressively intolerant of anyone who doesn't agree with every single one of their policies, which is generally how I feel about a lot of people that lean to the left. I would share some of the comments maybe I've had with friends in my group chat. Like, I constantly am on the defense because I don't see eye to eye with all of them about all left-leaning ideas that they have. I remember one time after the whole Chaz Chop incident took place, my own friends were telling me, you didn't actually run into Antifa. And I was like, wait a second, you weren't fucking there. How do you know? How does Tucker Carlson know either? Like, how does any of these people know what my actual experience was that day? Pissed me off. And I think that there are a lot of people that lean left that are a little bit closed-minded with anyone who doesn't fall in line with every single line of their thinking. And I continued saying, the left has a lot of empathetic ideas, but the lack of realism many of those ideas entail, and the jumping down people's throats with the you don't care about other people just because they have a different perspective on some is a little much for me. And then she unmatched with me after that, which I'm fine with. If you can't handle a conversation, a back and forth, you're just going to go with the aggressive, you're too big of a puss to admit you don't care about other people and you only care about your money. Actually, I'm not. Like, I don't care about them. You know, I believe in personal responsibility for you and your family. That's how it should go. That's at least how I feel. Largobot says you can't try to win these exchanges. This is a lose-lose conversation. You're right, it's a lose-lose conversation, but when somebody has that up there, I'm assuming it's a conversation that's going to take place in person. Rather do it over text than actually in person, to be perfectly honest. And I'm never trying to convince these people of anything. All I just don't get is that, like, why can't we have a back and forth conversation? Like, why is ejecting from this conversation the only way to go? Was that not a nuanced response? You can read it yourself. That's exactly what was written right there. That's how I feel. I lived in a left-leaning city, and that city, Seattle, is a fucking mess right now, largely due to the politicians that live there. And it's a shame because it's a beautiful city. A lot of cool people there. But just so aggressively liberal, and you ask a question, and they get so pissed at you. So just a question I had. Maybe I shouldn't be bringing up politics on dates going forward. Anyway. I am merely Paul Gallant. This has been the Gallant Says podcast, which you can get on Twitch, twitch.tv/Gallant Says. Weekday afternoons at 1 o'clock. Also, youtube.com/Paul Gallant if you like it that way. You can also join on the podcast of this show. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud. Look up Gallant Says. Look for the black chat box. Subscribe, rate, review, tell a friend. Leave a roast. We appreciate all of the support that you're giving us. Sorry I didn't get anything up for the World Series win on Saturday or yesterday or on Sunday. We had a lot to drink. I feel like I can feel it sweating through my shirt right now. So long. Farewell. Have yourselves a wonderful Monday afternoon. We'll be back at it.